10 Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 345. Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 345 of the 10 Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. This week we are finishing up our series on the blues, and we're doing that with our usual etude at the end of a run here. This has been a 2-month run though. We've been taking a look at the blues. I hope you've all gotten something out of it and found this series useful. We're going to finish it up with a really cool and interesting etude over 4 keys of the blues and talk about how they work really, really well together without stopping and changing keys. But before we get into that, as usual, just wanted to remind you this is a listener-supported podcast. If you're new around here, we do not do any advertisements on the show. Instead, we are supported by listeners just like you who support us in the Patreon platform for those donations. And you do get a PDF with every single episode along with audio examples and all kinds of other cool jazz education materials. You can find that and sign up to support the show at 10minutejazzlesson.com. Click on one of the Patreon banners and you can get more information and sign up for instant access. Quick shout out to some new patrons this week. Thank you to our new $5 patrons, John, Lou, and Gregory. And thank you to our new $3 patrons, Jason and Paul. Really appreciate the support, and of course everybody over there that is supporting the show. Thank you. We cannot do this without you. So if you want to join the family, go over to 10minutejazzlesson.com, click on one of the Patreon banners, and get yourself signed up today. All right, so we've been looking at the blues for quite a while, and we've looked at quite a diverse set of blues players and different solo styles. We've talked about what makes them effective. We've talked about some really cool things they're doing, different approaches, different forms of the blues, minor blues. We did Wolverine blues. We did our traditional 12-bar blues. We've done a lot of stuff. We've come a long way. So I figured a really fun way to end it would be with an etude, but not just your traditional blues etude, which I have done before. Instead, what I did was I was trying to think of something cool to do, and I remembered back in college and grad school, something that we used to do that was really fun and really challenging, and I decided to do that instead. So what you're going to notice on your etude is that the first chorus is just a regular old B-flat concert blues, 12-bar form. And then you're going to notice in bar 13, all of a sudden, we're in a completely different key. We're in the key of a concert D-flat blues. Then if you go to the end of that chorus and you look at the next one, you'll notice we're in E blues. And then finally, our fourth chorus, we are in the key of G. So think really quickly about that pattern of keys. Do you notice any kind of pattern? B flat, D flat, E, and G. So if you're thinking fast on your feet, you will notice that those 4 notes form a diminished chord, which means that we are moving through keys in minor thirds. And this is something we used to do a lot at jam sessions, and then in this other group that I played with and toured with a little bit, we used to do this all the time because it was so fun and so challenging. Somebody in the band would pick a starting key, and then we would, every chorus, first we would play ahead, 2 times in the home key, and then we would modulate up a minor third every single chorus and go through the band and play solos. And when we first started doing this, it was really, really difficult for me. But then after a while, I started to realize how valuable this was because the minor thirds, they cycle back around, right? So if you play a chorus in B flat, chorus in D flat, chorus in E, chorus in G, then your next chorus, your 5th chorus, is going to be back in B flat. So if you take a 4 chorus or an 8 chorus solo, it just cycles back around again, and the band can just keep on playing without any stopping and starting in another key, right? And it's not half steps, so you don't have to play, 12 choruses. Half steps would be pretty insane. That's why I think that the minor thirds works really well. But Here's the thing, it's kind of tough to hear at first because there's a little bit of an adjustment that happens between the keys where your ear has to really grasp on to the new key that's happening. So let's talk about how we're modulating. And it's, very basic, but I want to just talk about what you're going to see in the choruses that are going to signal, hey, we're going to another key. I also want to give you a taste of what that sounds like, what that modulation actually sounds like before you go and do it yourself. So let's go over the first chorus here and we'll make the transition into the second chorus. So first chorus again is in B flat, so it's just regular B flat blues. We've got 1, 4, 1, 1, 4, 1, 6, 2, 5. Now, what I've done is I have just done the most logical thing possible, which is we're going to play a quick 2-5 to the key of D flat. So here's the 1 chord. Now here's the 2-5 into the new key. And you see, it doesn't sound that awkward, but if you never heard it before, it can really throw you for a loop. So what if we did the last 4 bars of the first chorus into the first 4 bars of the second chorus, right? So we have 2, 5. Now we get our modulation. You could hear that sets us up really nicely for that next one. And then we do that same modulation in every chorus to that key, a minor third up from where we are. So this will be a cool challenge. And of course, play the etude, get used to that. There's some cool stuff in there, in my opinion. But then start practicing playing and improvising in these 4 keys that are a minor third apart. And that will be probably a new challenge for most of you. And it's a great way to start playing blues in multiple keys without worrying about having to play all 12 keys, which is a little bit of a mountain to climb if you've never done this before. Limiting it to 4 keys is a really approachable, great way to start playing blues in more unfamiliar keys. All right, so let's listen to the etude and then we'll chat for another second. So hopefully by the end of that 4 choruses, you're actually starting to hear that modulation without too much trouble. But it might take you a little while to latch on to that. And then the real kicker will be when you actually start playing over it. Can you hear that? Can you make the adjustment fast enough? This is a really great way to sort of keep yourself on your toes and make sure that you are ready for anything that's coming at you. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoy the material in the etude. I'm going to throw of the backing track for the $5 patrons, and I'm also going to throw a copy of the backing track in 4 keys And of course, the etude will be there for all Patreon members. So remember, if you want to get your hands on this stuff, go to 10minutejazzlesson.com, click on one of the Patreon banners, get yourself signed up today, and help keep this podcast coming out week in and week out. Hope you're all doing well out there, and we will see you next week with another brand new episode. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.